This is Gaming with the Master bringing you part 32 of Fossil Fighters. Let's get to it. Last episode, we used the time machine and we beat Ganache again. This episode, we will be going to the BB base. So we select the BB base so we actually go there. And then we are gonna go up these flights of stairs. All the way up to the 6th floor. When we get up there, you see Rex. So we're gonna talk to him and the rest of the BB trio. And they say, since the last beating you gave us, I've been training these two slobs harder than ever. Yeah, kid, I don't think we'll be losing to you again anytime soon. Vivian's taught me a lot with that newspaper thingy. Okay, here's what's gonna happen. You'll battle the three of us, one right after the other. Sound good? With all the training we've been putting in, you probably won't make it past Rex, though. He beat Ganache. He can probably take us, Snivels. So, ready to try your luck in a triple match challenge against the BB Bandits, We're gonna select yes, because this is what we will be doing today. Like I said, I will be using the new team we got in last episode, which is the 3 Ganache Brains. So Vivian said, that's what I thought you'd say, prepare for the new BBs. So first, Rex is using his stereotypical Xeno, Magath, and Noto, but they're all ranked 12. But I'm using Ganache's 3 Brains, which are ranked 12, which have 888, 666, and 666 HP. So Rex goes first and uses Perplex Shot, which does 36 damage and confuses Govorn. So Govorn swaps out for Gaweep, so we will be using Weeping Slam against Noto, which is a critical 56 damage. Which again, Ganache's 3 Brains are like that, are technically classified as a legendary for their elemental type, which is like a really strong neutral. So Noto uses Panic Typhoon, which does 65 and 14 damage. So again, we're going to use Weeping Slam against Noto, which does 37 damage. And also I'm going to use Whirling Displacement just because I can. Which puts Magath in the easy. So then Noto uses Panic Typhoon, which does 63 and 16 damage. And now that Govorn is out, I'm going to be swapping Govorn for Gaweep and using Gash Combo, which does 89 damage and scares Noto. Then Noto uses Panic Typhoon again, which does 47 and 15 damage. And swaps Noto out for Xeno. So again, I'm going to use Gash Combo against Xeno, though, this time. Which does 161 damage and scares Xeno. And Xeno's gonna use Frenzy of Destruction, which misses and misses. So this turn, I'm just gonna wait it out and use Frenzied Mockery, which greatly raises attack, so I'm gonna use it on Govorn. And again, Zeno uses Frenzy of Destruction, which does 73, 26, and 41 damage. Surprised that actually hit. And then Auto Counter does 2 damage and is no longer scared. So now I'm going to use Electric Doom, which is Govorn's team skill against Rex, which does 145, 76, and 88 damage. And again, Zeno uses Frenzy of Destruction, which does 66, 25, and 42 damage. Again, I'm surprised it hit. And then Auto Counter does 2 damage, and Megath swaps out for Zeno. So we're going to use Gash Combo. Which does 123 damage. And then Megath uses Power Dive, which does 22, 4, and 21 damage. And then Noto uses Perplex Shot, which does 18 damage and confuses Govorn. So Govorn, being confused, swaps out for Gaweep. And I am going to use Weeping Slam against Noto, which does 18 damage. And then I'm also going to use Whirling Displacement just because I can. And then Megath uses Power Dive, which does 43 and 4 damage. So I'm going to use Weeping Slam against Megath, which does 70 damage. Then Megath uses Power Dive, which does 43 and 4. And then Perplex Shot, which misses. Then Zeno swaps out for Megath. I'm going to swap Govorn out for Zeno. And use Gash Combo, which defeats Zeno. So Noto uses Perplex Shot against Govorn, which does 40 damage but does not confuse. So I'm going to use Cascading Savagery against Noto. So you guys get to see what that looks like. Which does 148 damage and defeats Noto. So Megath uses Slow Fury, which does a critical 117 damage and confuses Govorn. So Govorn's going to swap out for Gaweep. And I'm going to use Weeping Slam, which does 69 damage. Then Megath will use Slow Combo, which does 63 damage and confuses Gaweep. So then Gaweep uses Bend Space against Gulith. And then Megath uses Counter Blow, so he could potentially send the attacks back. Gaweep uses Weeping Slam, which does 80 damage and defeats Megath. So we beat Rex, which was the first battle out of the 3 BB trio. And now we're going to face Snivels, who's using Yango, Karchar, and Serato, which are all ranked 12. So Snivels goes first, and Yango uses Super Harden on Karchar. So now I'm going to use Gash Combo against Karchar, which does 42 damage. And Karchar uses Karchar Combo, which does 112 damage, and Serrato Fang, which does 18 damage. So now we're going to use Gash Combo against Karchar, which does 91 damage. Then Karchar uses Karchar Combo again, which does 115 damage and excites Govorn, and then Serrato Fang does 18 damage again. Then I'm going to use Gash Combo once again, which does 70 damage and scares Karchar. So Karchar uses Massive Jaws, which does 93 damage, and Serrato Combo, which does a critical 39 damage. So now we're going to use Gash Combo against Karchar, which does 86 damage. Then Karchar uses Massive Jaws, which does 88 damage, and swaps out for Serrato and uses Serrato Combo, which does 52 damage. So now I'm going to use Electric Doom, which does 139 and 70 damage. So now Serrato uses Serrato Combo, which does a critical 77 damage, and Whirling Dash, which does 25 damage. So now I'm going to use Gash Combo, which does 103 damage. So then Serrato uses Serrato Combo, which does a critical 78 damage and knocks Govorn into the easy, and then Karchar uses Massive Jaws, which does 54 damage. So now we're going to use Weeping Slam against Karchar, which does 55 damage. Then Karchar uses Karchar Combo, which does 77 damage and excites Gulith. Then Yango uses Spike Tail, which does 10 damage. The auto counter does 1. Actually, I am going to use Tears of Dark Light, which will heal my entire team. So they those two go up 80. Gweep goes up 0 because Gweep was never attacked. And then Karchar uses Karchar Combo, which does 97 damage, and auto counter does 9. Then swapped out for Yango and uses Serrato Fang, which does a critical 15 damage, and auto counter does 1. So now we're going to use a Weeping Slam, which does 73 damage. And then Snivels uses Fire Spines against Gweep, which does 0 damage but excites him. Or Gulith, and then uses Serrato Fang, which does 10 damage. So now I'm going to use Electric Doom again, but this time it's Gulith, which does 115 damage and 50. So swaps Karchar out with Yango since Karchar came out of the easy, and uses Karchar combo, which does 71 damage and excites Gulith. And then Serato uses Serato Fang, which does a critical 16 damage, and auto counter does 1. So now I'm going to use Weeping Slam, which does 63 damage. Then Karchar uses Karchar combo, which does 101 damage, and auto counter does 10. Serato Fang does a critical 16 damage. So now I'm going to use Weeping Slam, which does a critical 98 damage and defeats Karchar. So now Serato uses Headbutt, which does a critical 78 damage, and auto counter does 7, and swaps out for Yango, which uses Fire Spines, which does 0 damage but excites Gulith. So now I'm going to use Weeping Slam against Yango, which does 77 damage. And then Gash combo against Serato. Which does 55 damage and scares Serato. So then Serato uses Serato Fang, which does a critical 33 damage. Then I'm going to use Billowing Anger against Serato, which does a critical 161 damage. So we beat Schnivels now, and all we have to do is beat Vivian to beat the rest of the BB trio. And Vivian is using Engado, Gira, and Dimorph. So Vivian goes first and uses Poison Combo, which does 75 damage and poisons. And then Dimorph uses Ignite Anger, which does a critical 64 damage. So at first I'm going to use Whirling Displacement. And then I'm going to use Ominous Bite against Dimorph, which does 112 damage. And then Poison does 133 against Gavorn. Then Dimorph uses Ignite Rage, which does 48 damage and ignites Gavorn. And then Gira uses Knockout Cry, which does 15 damage and puts Gavorn to sleep. So now I'm going to use Weeping Slam against Dimorph, which does 43 damage. So then Dimorph uses Ignite Rage against Gulith, which does 22 damage, and then Gira uses Knockout Cry, which does 15 damage and puts Gavorn to sleep. Now I'm going to use Weeping Slam against Engado, which does 34 damage. So Vivian uses Poisonous Fury against Gaweep. So now I'm going to use Electric Doom against Vivian, which does 146 and 77 damage. So Angado uses Poison combo against Goweep, which does a critical 60 damage. Then Ignite Anger against Gavorn, which does a critical 66 damage. So first I'm going to swap Gulith out for Gavorn, and then use Weeping Slam against Angado, which does 72 damage. Then Angado uses Poison combo, which does 40 damage, and then Ignite Anger, which does 36 damage and enrages Gulith. So I'm going to use Gulith's Whirling Displacement. And then use Weeping Slam against Angado. There we go. I can't speak today. So Dimorph uses Super Quicken against Angado, and swaps out for Gyro, which was a complete waste of time. So now I'm going to swap Gavorn out for Gulith and use Gash combo against Gira, which does 128 damage. And then Gira uses Spite Blast against Gavorn, which does 180 damage but takes Gira down to all but 1 HP. So I'm going to use Electric Doom against Gira and Dimorph, which should defeat both of them. Especially Gira, which it does, but it misses Dimorph. So Dimorph uses Ignite Rage against Goweep, which does a critical 90 damage. Then Poisonous Fury against Gavorn, which does 46 damage and poisons. So I'm going to use Gash combo against Dimorph, which defeats Dimorph. And I'm going to swap out Gulith for Gavorn. Then Angado uses Poisonous Fury against Goweep, which does 81 damage. Then I'm going to use Weeping Slam against Angado, which does 74 damage. And then Angado uses Poisonous Fury, which does 54 damage. Then I'm going to use Gulith's Billowing Anger, which should hopefully defeat Angado, which it does, and I beat the entire BB trio. And we got 20 battle points. So Electro's LP increased by 9, and Shan Shan's increased by 13. So Vivian says, "You never fail to impress, Master. Good work." Schnivel says, "Meh, I thought we had you for sure." And then Rex says, "Wow, you're good." Schnivel says, "Your luck can't hold out forever, kiddo." And we just got Frigosaurus added to our VMM account. So that is how you get Frigosaurus in this game, is you beat the BB trio after you beat the game. And that's how I used Frigosaurus back in part 29B. And with that, we will conclude today's episode. And I don't know what we'll be doing next time for Fossil Fighters, so you'll just have to wait and see for part 33.